does one measure that so that one can hopefully provide some of that? It becomes a challenge because spiritual fitness is very hard to define, and there are many different views about what exactly that is. Now, I try to look at spiritual fitness as something that is more distinctive, because spirituality now has been really become so broad that it's encompassed a lot of what is ordinarily just mental health. It's incorporated issues related to mental health as opposed to really being distinctive in its own right. So spiritual fitness and measures of it, I think, really need to capture something that is outside of the individual. Something that has something to do with the transcendent. However the person understands the transcendent, but the transcendent that is kind of outside of themselves and yet, very much also close by and inside of themselves. But spiritual fitness, measuring that again becomes a challenge because of these different definitions. I see spiritual fitness as being rooted in religion. Now, when I say religion, I am using it in a very broad sense. I don't necessarily mean institutional religion. Institutional religion is a big part of it, but it certainly isn't all of it. There are many people who have beliefs and practices regarding God, the transcendent, however one wants to term it, that have to do with their spiritual fitness, that have to do with, measuring it. I mean, to what extent? I mean, I tend to be kind of down to earth in terms of measurement because I have to be as a researcher, because I have to come up with questions and, they're very discrete and that don't overlap with outcomes. Because my job is to try to identify what are factors that lead to spiritual resilience or mental health. So as far as that is concerned, I would measure it by assessing how often a person connects with their God, however, their higher power, whatever you want. How often, how much time does someone spend in that activity? How frequently does one get together with others to worship that which they believe is, their understanding of the transcendent? There are just, how much time does one spend in volunteering, in actually involving oneself in a religious or spiritual community? How much money does one give to religious causes? I mean, these are the kinds of very practical things that have to do with how people are spending their time and their resources as an indicator of their level of spiritual involvement. And that tends to be correlated with spiritual fitness. I mean, it's like exercise. I mean, the more you exercise, the more physically fit you're going to be. The more you run, right? The more you lift weights. I mean, you have to be that specific. It's exactly the same with spiritual fitness. You're lifting the weights is like the time you're spending praying. That's basically it. Or worshiping. That's how you become spiritually fit. And that's the way it ought to be measured and supported in that way.